Tonight's story comes from Reddit or Let's Not Meet. Imagine waking up in the middle of the night and realizing someone is already in your room, silently watching you sleep. Get comfortable, because this one gets under your skin.
I was 16 years old when this happened. My parents had gone out of town, leaving me alone for the weekend. I wasn't scared of being home alone. I'd done it plenty of times before. That night, I stayed up late, scrolling on my phone until I could barely keep my eyes open. Eventually, I crashed, leaving my window cracked open to let in the cool night air. A few hours later, I woke up. At first, I thought it was just a dream, but then I heard it, breathing, heavy, steady breathing, the kind of sound you know doesn't belong to you. My chest tightened. I froze in bed, holding my breath, straining my ears. That's when I realized the sound was coming from the foot of my bed. When my eyes adjusted to the dark, I saw him, a man I had never seen before, standing completely still. He wasn't moving. He wasn't speaking. He was just watching me, his eyes locked on mine. My body refused to move. Every instinct screamed at me to scream, to run, to do something. But I couldn't. I was paralyzed with fear. I don't know how long we stared at each other. Maybe seconds, maybe minutes. It felt like hours. My heart was pounding so loudly I swore he could hear it. But he didn't react. He just kept breathing, kept watching, kept standing there like a shadow made real. Finally, without a word, he turned. He walked to my window, the same window I had left cracked open, and climbed out into the night. I stayed frozen in bed until the sun came up. Only then did I run to lock every door and window in the house. When my parents came home, we called the police. They searched, but there was no forced entry, no fingerprints, nothing. It was like he vanished. To this day, I don't know who he was, or how long he had been watching me before I woke up. Sometimes I wonder if he had been there the whole night, waiting for me to stir. Or worse, if he came back while I was asleep again. I still sleep with my window locked, curtains drawn, and a chair jammed against my bedroom door. 16 years old was the night I stopped feeling safe in my own room. It was the summer before college, and me and two friends, Jake and Marcus, decided to go camping deep in the state forest. No parents, no rules, just three guys, cheap gear, and the wilderness. The first night was perfect, clear skies, the smell of wood smoke, and laughter echoing through the trees. We cooked hot dogs over the fire, shared stupid stories, and stared up at more stars than I'd ever seen in my life. For hours, we sat around the fire, our voices bouncing through the trees, not realizing the forest was already watching us. That night, I fell asleep to the sound of crickets, feeling safer than I should have. On the second night, everything changed. Round midnight, we heard branches snapping. At first, we laughed, thinking it was just a deer wandering close. But the sound didn't fade away. It circled us, slowly, deliberately. Each crack of a branch seemed closer, but every time we shined our flashlights, the forest looked empty. The beam of light never reached far enough. It only made the darkness behind the trees look thicker. I tried to brush it off, but deep down my gut told me something was wrong. Jake leaned in and whispered, "That's not a deer." Marcus chuckled nervously, but he didn't sound convinced either. Marcus grabbed his flashlight and shouted, "Hey, who's out there?" His voice cracked, more fear than anger. The sound of his yell seemed to shatter the air. Instantly, the whispers stopped. The hands disappeared. The forest fell silent, too silent. Even the crickets had gone quiet. We sat frozen in the dark, gripping our pocket knives like they would actually protect us. None of us spoke. We didn't dare move. For the rest of the night, every sound made me jump. A single leaf falling felt like thunder.
When the sun finally rose, relief hit me so hard I almost cried. We unzipped the tent, half expecting to see someone standing there. But the clearing was empty. Completely empty. Then we saw the ground. All around our tent were footprints. Dozens of them. But they weren't human. They were long, narrow. Each one had too many toes splayed out like claws. Some prints overlapped, like whatever was out there had been circling us again and again all night. Marcus turned pale. Jake refused to look. And me? I couldn't stop staring at those tracks, wondering how close they had gotten. And why they stopped right at the edge of the tent, as if they had been waiting for us to come out. We packed in silence, tossing gear into our bags with shaky hands. The hike back felt endless. Every snapping twig made us flinch. We didn't talk, didn't joke, didn't stop until we reached the trailhead. When we got back to civilization, Marcus swore he heard whispers behind us until the very end. Jake swore off camping completely. He still won't step foot in the woods at night. And me? I tried to convince myself it was just a trick of the mind, a bad dream fueled by exhaustion. But I knew better. The prints were real. The whispers were real. Something had been out there. Years have passed, but the memory hasn't faded. Even now, when I go hiking alone, I can't shake the feeling of being followed. Sometimes I hear footsteps pacing behind me, just out of sight. Sometimes I think I hear the same overlapping voices, rising and falling in the wind. I've caught myself spinning around, expecting to see someone standing there, but the trail is always empty. The forest is always still. And yet, I can't shake the feeling that whatever stalked us that night never left the forest. It's still out there, waiting, watching, for the next group of campers to step too far inside. So what do you think we saw? A spirit? A creature we don't have a name for? Or something worse? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more terrifying Reddit stories every week. Because some nights, the forest doesn't sleep. And neither should you. My freshman year, I moved into Carrington Hall, the oldest dorm on campus. The building was red brick and horseshoe-shaped, with radiators that hissed like snakes and windows that rattled when the wind changed direction. On move-in day, my dad joked about the radiator's color. Is that brown? Or a very brave shade of yellow? When he left, the door stuck, then clicked shut behind him. That click was louder than it should have been. My roommate, Lila, arrived later with a succulent in a mustard yellow pot. She liked true crime podcasts. I liked sleeping with a fan on. That first night, the radiator tapped in strange rhythms. Tap, 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 tap. Lila mumbled, "Old building," and rolled over. The radiator hissed back like it was keeping a secret. Week 2, the footsteps started. Every night around 3:12 a.m. Heel, toe, heel, toe. They stopped right outside our door. Never continued past us. Never turned back. Just silence pressing against the wood. Sometimes they lingered for a minute. Sometimes 5. And then they retreated. The first truly wrong thing happened on a Thursday. Lila was out late. I was alone. From my desk chair came a soft sound, like fabric rubbing fabric. I looked up. The chair shifted an inch, then another, and then it scraped loudly, moving closer to the desk. I whispered, "Hello," but got nothing back. When Lila returned, I told her. She laughed, but brushed her teeth faster than usual. That night, the footsteps came again at 3:13. We both heard them. Both watched the door. The steps stopped outside. The silence stretched. Too long. Then they retreated. Neither of us spoke. By mid-semester, it became a routine. Footsteps at 3. Whispers in the vents, too soft to understand, but patterned like speech. Sometimes the chair moved an inch. Sometimes our window screen popped like someone pushed on it from outside. We laughed in daylight. At night, we didn't laugh. One night, just before midterms, something different happened. I woke to scratching. Not at the door. Not at the chair. It came from under the bed. A slow, steady drag. like fingernails pulling across wood. I froze. Lila whispered, "Do you hear that?" The scratching stopped. Then 3 knocks from inside the frame, as if something beneath us wanted out. We placed a voice recorder in the room the next night. On playback, we heard the footsteps clearly: heel, toe, heel, toe. Then the faint sound of a doorknob twisting. At 3:13, the audio warped into static for 7 whole seconds. When it cleared, a whisper, too faint to understand, but unmistakably human. Lila shut the laptop and whispered, "I hate this." We researched in the library basement. In a dusty yearbook, we found his name: Thomas Avery, a student who died in Carrington Hall in the 1950s. Lila whispered, "A night walker. Someone who doesn't feel done when everyone else is sleeping." That night, for the first time, we spoke aloud. "Thomas," Lila said, "we don't want trouble." The radiator knocked once. 3 nights of peace followed. Then at 3:09 a.m., our chair rotated, smoothly, slowly, turning until it faced my bed. I couldn't scream, couldn't breathe. It stopped, facing me like a patient witness. Finals week, the footsteps grew louder. One night, I came back late. The stairwell dropped 10 degrees. My breath fogged. I whispered, "Thomas." The air vibrated like the radiator's tap. I climbed the stairs without running. At our door, Lila sat up instantly and asked, "Did you feel that?" The last incident came during midterms the next semester. I was half asleep when the mattress dipped, like someone sat carefully at the end of my bed. Not heavy, not violent, gentle. It lasted maybe 5 seconds. Then the weight lifted. I turned on the lamp and cried silently into my pillow. When the semester ended, we moved out. In the empty room, I turned back once. The chair faced the desk. The radiator sat still. I whispered, "Goodbye." The door stuck, then clicked shut behind me. I don't live in Carrington anymore. But sometimes at 3 a.m., I feel the bed dip just slightly, and I try not to count the footsteps I no longer hear.